Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I can't believe I did that again," or "Why do I keep falling into the same old trap?" Maybe you've wondered, didn't I already learn this lesson? If so, you're not alone. Repeating the same mistakes is one of the most common and frustrating parts of being human. But here's the truth. We don't repeat mistakes because we're lazy, or stupid, or broken. We repeat them because our minds are wired to follow familiar paths, even when those paths lead us straight into pain. In this video, we're going deep into the psychology behind why this happens. You'll learn exactly why your brain keeps you stuck and, more importantly, how to break free with clarity, compassion, and consistent action. Let's start with a simple but powerful idea. Your brain is not designed for success. It's designed for survival. This means it favors what's known and predictable, even if what's known is unhealthy or destructive. Think of it like a path in a forest. The first time you walk it, it's a bit rough, but the more you walk that same path, the clearer and easier it becomes. Eventually, it becomes your default route, the one you take without even thinking. This is how habits are formed, but it's also how mistakes become patterns. Mistakes like getting into toxic relationships, procrastinating on important tasks, sabotaging your own success, or reacting with anger instead of reflection. These aren't random events. They are learned loops, mental scripts we replay simply because they feel familiar, even if they hurt us in the long run. Another major player in this cycle is emotional memory. Unlike your rational memory, which is logical and conscious, your emotional memory is stored deep in your subconscious, and it is incredibly powerful. Let's say you failed publicly in the past, maybe as a child, or in your early career. That emotional imprint of embarrassment or shame doesn't just disappear. It lives on in your nervous system. So, even years later, when you face a similar situation, your brain might push you to avoid it, or worse, to sabotage it, just to protect you from feeling that old pain again. This is why so many people unconsciously repeat self-limiting behaviors. They're not weak. They're simply running on outdated emotional code. And then there's the strange comfort we find in familiarity. It sounds odd, but we often find comfort in what we know even if it's painful. Why? Because the pain, feels safer than the uncertainty of the unknown. It's predictable. You know how to handle it. You know what to expect. And that illusion of control, it can be addictive. This is why someone might return to the same type of unhealthy partner over and over, even if it never works out. It's why someone might continue to fail in the same way, again and again. It's not because they enjoy suffering, but because they're more afraid of change than they are of the familiar pain. Until you consciously break that cycle, your mind will always drift back to what it knows. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so I just need more willpower, right? Well, not exactly. Willpower is like a muscle. It's great for short bursts, but it gets tired. Relying on willpower alone for deep, lasting change is rarely sustainable. What you really need is awareness, combined with a system to create new neural pathways. If your mistakes are ingrained habits, then healing and change must also become habits. That's where the real, transformative work begins. So let's get practical. Here are 5 steps to help you stop repeating the same mistakes, not through force, but through understanding and strategy. First, slow down and reflect. Whenever you catch yourself repeating a mistake, just stop. Don't judge yourself. Instead, ask, what was I feeling right before this happened? What was I trying to avoid or protect myself from? This simple act of reflection is the first crack in the old pattern. Second, identify the pattern, not just the single event. You're not just consistently late to meetings. Perhaps you're avoiding responsibility. You're not just dating the wrong person again. Maybe you're replaying unresolved emotional patterns from your past. You have to look beneath the surface to find the root cause. Third, rewire your brain through repetition. New habits take time, and they are built by repeating a new action. Start small. The next time you feel the pull of the old pattern, interrupt it with one tiny, different choice. Do it daily. Your brain doesn't change through insight alone. It changes through new experiences. Fourth, get support. You don't have to do this alone. A mentor, a therapist, a coach, or even a trusted friend can help you see the blind spots you couldn't see on your own. We all have them, and having an outside perspective is invaluable. And finally, step 5. Be patient, but relentless. Change is not a straight line. You will slip up, but slipping isn't the same as failing unless you give up and stop trying. Compassion for yourself and consistency in your effort are far more powerful than shame. Let me share a quick story. There was a man who kept losing jobs. He was skilled and talented, but he constantly argued with his managers. Each time he was let go, he told himself it was their fault. But after the 5th job loss, something clicked. He stopped and asked himself, what's the one common denominator in all these situations? The answer was hard to face. It was him. It was his ego, his inability to accept criticism. He realized he didn't need another job. He needed a mindset shift. So I got hope. He started journaling. He practiced pausing and responding thoughtfully instead of reacting defensively. 2 years later, he was leading a team, not by avoiding mistakes, but by learning and growing through them. His entire life changed because he stopped blaming others and started owning his patterns. So, why do we repeat the same mistakes? Because we're human. Because our brains are wired to favor the familiar. And because sometimes familiar pain can feel safer than the possibility of something new. But here's the good news. Awareness breaks the cycle. Action rewires the mind. And every single time you choose to act differently, Evan Hustansa, you prove that you're no longer stuck. You're learning. You're growing. And that is not a mistake. That is transformation. This is week 2 of your 52-week journey. You're not just watching videos. You're building a new way of thinking and a new way of living. Mistakes will happen along the way, but they don't have to define you. The real mistake is staying blind to the pattern. So, this week, I encourage you to pause, reflect, and begin again this time with your eyes wide open. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week. But until then, stay aware, stay consistent, and keep going. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it.